I think we need to listen very carefully to what Pratap Bhanu Mehta actually says. Before we jump to conclusions as to whether he is anti-national, or whether he was deservedly sacked by Ashoka University, as he would have us think, I think we need to really look at the sort of arguments that he makes. And, one can do that in an abstract manner. But let's face it, Mehta is stupid. He doesn't have a solid background in Western idea, and he has none at all in the Hindu religion, because he's not Hindu. So he's at a sort of a double disadvantage, isn't he? But let's be fair to him. Let us hear what he actually has to say for himself. And he's speaking to Rajdeep Sardesai, and this is in a conclave. He is choosing his words carefully. This is not a gotcha interview. This is a man speaking for himself.
Is going to suffer as much as the BJP from these protests, because they don't see that political articulation linked.
In a sense, where I'm coming from is that as we look into the 72nd year of our republic, the constitution founders were driven by idealism. Today, India is increasingly seemingly driven by sort of this chilling pragmatism. How do I win the next election? I don't think the founders of our constitution, the constitution makers, were looking at, how do you win the next election? So with vote bank politics,
So this is Rajdeep Sardesai, and he sounds terribly constipated. I hope he gets help with that, so that the timbre of his voice falls a little, and he has an easeful bowel movement. These are things that we can all join together in wishing and hoping for. But what is his central point? Well, he says, the Constitution is written by angels, and and then devils appeared. But that isn't true at all, is it? And will Pratap Bhanu Mehta, who is supposed to be an academic, he's not a journalist, he's supposed to be an academic, will he endorse this view? Sadly, yes. And these two elderly men, gargoyles, they're going to sound more and more constipated. What is happening with their voices? Why are they pitched at that level? Are they sitting in very uncomfortable chairs which actually have spikes up their bottom? Perhaps. Who can tell? Who can tell? Under Modi, anything is possible.
Every decision being taken through the prism of winning the next election, does that in a way undermine constitution values? Look at whether it is Article 370's abrogation, whether it is the building of a Ram Mandir. All of this seems to be with one eye of how do I consolidate my Hindutva vote bank.
No, I think, Rajdeep, to be fair, look, our founders were serious politicians, and if you go back to even the first limited franchise elections in the 1930s, some of these debates were coming to the fore, right? And let's be very clear, you shouldn't be in politics if you're not in the business of winning elections, okay? I think the difference, so to that extent, I would not blame this dispensation. I mean, there have been all kinds of weird electoral, in fact, we used to, have this term, remember, that we have lots of electoral secularists. No genuine, I can think of Charan Singh as a great example of a perfectly good electoral secularist who, in every other respect, would have been quite comfortable with this dispensation. I think the difference is what are the red lines and the limits that the political class as a whole decides we are not going to cross. when we engage in this electoral contestation, right? Are you going to legitimize complete vigilantism and say, vigilantism is your path to power? Yesterday's Yogi Adityanath or tomorrow's Sadhvi Pragya, this is going to be the pathway to a political future, right? I think that culture has deeply and profoundly changed, right? I mean, in fact, I do wish the Congress actually took electoral politics seriously. You want the opposition to take that a bit more seriously.
So this is utterly mad. The fact is that in the TMC you have, forget about vigilantism, you have hooliganism. And you've had that since really the early 60s. And you had Siddharth Shankar Ray, who's a great sort of constitutional authority, who's certainly part of the great and good. And we know exactly why Mehta Banerjee was promoted. It was because she be cray-cray. Forget about vigilantism. This is crazy shit. And we know that Congress, in its origin, was vigilantist. We know that from the record of the Kanpur riot. We know that from Cornelius Sarabjee, who had studied under Jarrett, at Oxford, and she was perhaps the first woman to practice law in the British Empire. We know all about this. Why is this fool pretending that there were no other cadre-based parties, that there was nothing of the sort in Tamil Nadu, in Kerala, that the Congress, Youth Congress, was not cadre-based party, was very effective at periods. What the fuck is going on here? How on earth does this man think that in 1917 cow slaughter virtually disappeared in Bihar? What's going on here? He wants to pretend. He wants to pretend that Yogi Adityanath, who has been an MP, he was perhaps the youngest MP to be elected to the Lok Sabha, and he'd been an MP for more than 20 years. And he was, you had Rahul Gandhi, and you had Akhilesh Yadav, and he was exactly 1 year younger than the former, and a year younger than or 2 years older than the latter. UP wanted a youth. UP is very young because, for demographic reasons. And Adityanath has prevailed, and the fact is that UP is massively Hindu, and people from Kerala who are Hindu, in Kerala people do eat beef, Hindus do eat beef, and there are other parts of India where they can eat beef, but they don't eat beef in UP. You go to jail for that shit. I know about this because I'm fucking South Indian. I was black as shit. But when has this not been the case? We know about UP, and the fact is that people who are Hindus from other parts of the world, when we come to UP or Bihar, we're coming to very sacred places, where there are tirths, pilgrimage places, and we're on our best behavior, and, you turn off your bloody mobile phone. I remember, back when mobile phones were a little bit rare and expensive. कि अभी हम we're going into a very sacred and special part of the sacred geography of Hinduism. And we have absolutely no complaint. I'm as black as shit. And I don't, actually I'm a Brahmin, but, well, I'm a Brahmin Bandhu. I'm not an actual Brahmin. But, आप देख सकते हैं कि मेरा जनेऊ नहीं है. And I remember, I'd gone to, in Bihar, in 1998 or something, I'd gone to a Tirth in Rajgir, hot spring, Surajkund. And I suddenly realized, oh my God, everybody else has got a bloody janeo, they're all high caste, and I'm black. And they must be thinking I'm a Dalit, or, and they'll bloody kill me. I was frightened. Bloody, And the other thing is that my wallet was also, I hadn't even brought money with me. So I was thinking that the bloody Pandays will mob me and beat me. And there's a huge big sign, non-Hindus can't come. And, I actually had a beard, so I looked like Muslim. And the other thing is that because, I watched a lot of Pakistani soap operas, and I was an admirer of the great Pakistani comedian, Umar Sharif, I think Liaquat Wadi. So I actually, if I started speaking in Hindi, I would sound bloody Muslim and I'd be using Urdu words and not Shuddha Hindi words. I was thinking, my God, अभी ये लोग तो मुझे मारेंगे, पीटेंगे, पता नहीं क्या कहेंगे. I was trying to remember what is Gayatri Mantra. But all nonsense and rubbish, I mean, I did get angry because of a wrong demand of money by the Pandays, who had discovered that I didn't have an ancestral Pandey. But I've described this in my book, Samli's Daughter, that one Arya Samaji type young chap, he's son of one of the senior priests. And he came to talk to me, explained everything to me, and then they did all the bloody rites for me because they said, nahi, Madrasi admi hai. They didn't actually know I was bloody Madrasi. They thought I was a bloody Jola wala. They went against me for being dark and Madrasi. They just thought I was a silly man. Yeah, I'm tall and well built. And I am a Hindu. And if anybody wants to kill me, please kill me in a Hindu tirth. Because I'm a Hindu. Nobody wants to kill you. Hindus are Hindus. What's the big problem? Let's hear more from.
But it's the decimation of those lines which now has empowered the worst of our subterranean self, as it were. I think that's what's changed.
Because when a Yogi Adityanath becomes the Chief Minister of India's most populous state, I mean, what is the message being sent out? I mean, till the other day, he was a vigilante who was essentially leading these groups on issues like love jihad. If an individual like that is rewarded with becoming the Chief Minister of India's populous state, the message right down the line seems to be that is the way forward.
But which Chief Minister first mentioned love jihad? Of which state in India? Does anybody know the answer to that? The answer is it was Kerala. In Kerala, for the very first time in 2010, you had a Chief Minister who said, love jihad! But it was with a Kerala twist. Kerala twist. Because in the rest of the country, we say love jihad means, handsome Shah Rukh Khan type, bade bade aankhein, six pack, and I actually looked like Priyanka Chopra. Seduction. But in Kerala, it's the other way. They say, no, the girl will seduce the boy by offering him money or something. I don't remember. Because she's a capitalist. Because Muslim girls are capitalist and they will seduce the Hindu communist by offering him, nice food and. So actually, Love Jihad was raised by a very senior communist who's referred to as Trotsky of India and ye wo pata nahi pension or something like that. He's very senior. Look it up on Wikipedia. Nowadays that's a problem. You've got Wikipedia, so you know that these guys are talking bullshit, and they know that we know that they know that we know. It's common knowledge that they're talking worthless shit. See, why did Yogi Adityanath get the ticket? It's because you have Akhilesh of this age and Rajiv and Rahul, both attractive, young, and then you have Yogi, similar age, but he had 20 years experience as an MP. And what does UP want? Basically, you see, there's a lot of anti-poverty money which gets tied up in New Delhi because no bureaucrat will sign off so long as you have a bloody Yadav or some corrupt bastard. I mean, not Yadav. I mean, like Akhilesh Yadav or, Mulayam Singh Yadav type goon. I don't mean Yadavs, of course not. They're the best people. Best, absolutely. But bad apples, plenty of Brahmin. Arey bhai, Mani Shankar Iyer, he's an Iyer. We hate him. So, please. I'm not being casteist. And we love Yadavs. Because, Yadu Vansh, we are worshippers of Krishna, Lord Krishna. And nothing wrong in that. But you see, the reason that this guy was put in was because he was known not to be corrupt. So, people in North Block, in South Block or whatever, they will sign off. They will sign off on, okay, the Chief Minister has signed it. So we sign off. And CAG turns up. CAG says, if you release funds to somebody who's notoriously corrupt, CAG is going to come after your ass. And you're a bureaucrat and your bloody career stalls and, you don't want that shit. So that's all that happened. It's not vigilantism. Vigilantism happened in 1917 when Mahatma Gandhi was running around at Champaran to distract attention from the fact that throughout the state of Bihar, cow slaughter had been suppressed. Come on. We know this. Let's hear a little bit more. And I'm choosing something at random.
Judiciary, are they driven only by the executive for their decisions that they are taking, or are they fearful of the media? Have the BJP and the RSS, released a tiger, say in 2014, which is now running amok, and they are unable to cage it, or are they at all interested in caging it? So that's my question on, are we well and truly now a mobocracy?
I thought we had
So the guy who asked this is wearing a trilby hat. Fuck is wrong with him? Is he a mafia godfather? How fucking fucked are you if in India you wear a fucking trilby hat while asking a question at a conclave? What's this guy doing? Is he trying to make out that he's a mafia don? And he speaks of mobocracy, and he comes from fucking Bombay, from Mumbai, from Shiv Sena territory. What's wrong with him? Well, let's hear what Sardesai says.
CEO of Niti Aayog, who said we have too much democracy in India, and seemed to suggest that was the problem. But you know, this perception again that you know that the state is increasingly aligned to the mob, or the mob is.
So, you know, you have the TV camera, or the video camera, focused on a guy dressed all in black, wearing a fucking black trilby hat, who looks, you know, what's he trying to do? You know, what does that sort of dress actually mean? It means I'm part of the mob, the mafia. And he speaks with a deep voice. So this fucking cunt is basically a mafia cunt. He's trying to, that's what he's trying to say. I'm a fucking mafia cunt. And he's speaking out against mobocracy. Of what sort? Of the vast majority of the population who didn't get rich off crime, you worthless cunt. People will string you up. You fucking trilby wearing, you know, wearing all black jacket, black shirt. Cunt! Fuck is wrong with you? And Rajdeep said at the side, of course, you know, he's kind of going, well, you're not the mob. The mob is them Hindus who object to you, you worthless piece of shit. And I know about these guys. You know, I've met them in Mumbai and so on. And, you know, you break them. You have to confront them. You have to bully them. They're bullies. And they're kind of going, yeah, I know a bhai. And I'm going, I know a fucking Muslim bhai who will fuck your bhai. I will fucking kill you, chop your fucking head off. Why? Because the Muslim bhaiya believes in truth. He believes in God. He believes, you see, secularism actually means belief in truth. It doesn't mean telling stupid lies. It doesn't mean being a bully. It doesn't mean lying in a stupid manner. And, you know, you wear a black trilby hat and you're dressed all in black, and you think that I'm going to be fucking impressed? I'm not. Because I'm going to come after you, and, you know, you're going to back off. Why? It's because you've done wrong. And when you've done wrong, you see, you may say, oh, well, you're high caste, Mr. Iyer. But the trouble is, I'm not representing Iyers, because you haven't actually hurt a fucking Iyer. You've hurt somebody of a different. You've hurt a Mahar, you've hurt a Muslim. And that's why these guys fucking back down. And they go, then they pretend not to speak English, and they go back to, you know, Hyderabadi kisam ki Hindi, which they don't actually speak. I mean, Hyderabad has an ancient Urdu tradition, which I've read about. Actually, you know, I did try to study Urdu properly, and I have good instructors. So I know the real thing from the fake bullshit. And I go, fucking exhibit cunt, and I'm extremely impolite with them. And you know, they go, yeah, you're crazy. I'm going, yeah, I'm crazy. But you're shit. You're stupid. There's a difference between crazy and stupid. And those instances, you know, you get what is called contract compliance. You know, and that was worth having at one time. You know, I've been disintermediated by everybody because, you know, people of those communities, they don't feel they need somebody who went to the LSE to represent them. They're doing well. You have ladies who belong to the Dalit community who have become big real estate operators. And you've had ladies who are big in manufacturing, 100 million net assets. So India's moved on a lot. But these two fat cunts, these two gargoyles, Pratap, Bhanu, Mehta, and these other fucking worthless high caste Sardesai, the very word is feudal. These two feudal cunts, sitting there, gloating over their class privilege of a feudal type, of a mercantile capitalist type. They disgust me, and they should disgust you as well. And who speaks up for them? Look at the tape. He's a guy in a black trilby hat. I'm not joking. The guy actually is wearing a black hat. He's a black hat, wearing black, a jacket, black shirt. Why? What the fuck is wrong with him? And speaking a deep voice like that, yeah, because मैं बाहुबली को जानता हूँ हाँ fuck off, you don't know any fucking Bahubalis, you stupid cunt. They think, and I know these guys, they think that they know Muslim gangsters. The problem with Muslim gangsters is that many of them are actual Muslims. And Muslims believe in God. They believe in truth. And they can't be bought with soft soap. They can't be bought by these cunts pretending to help them, pretending to be secular and pretending to be great champions of the Dalit and the Mahar and the Muslim and the Jatav. Fuck off. These guys, the reason that I was able to have a small amount of influence many years ago, not now, was because, and this is what I found interesting, was that people would actually keep track that the so-called subaltern, which Gayatri Spivak said, cannot speak. Actually, this subaltern could keep bloody data banks, which were common knowledge, and so you had contact enforcement, you had countervailing power, and there's nothing wrong in that. Barrister Kabar Garde, when I was at the LSE, when I was 19, he said, look, you come to Mumbai, we'll make you a cooperator. He probably understood that I was the stupidest shit that I need. But he knew that, look, the guy is honest and he's an Iyer. Iyers don't really have a very high standard of living. And, the fact is that Dalit and Muslim and so on, they actually like having people like me come to stay because उनको क्या खाना खिलाना है हाँ बच्चों के साथ खिला दो whatever the children are having he will have that so it's simple and it's easy and if you are staying maybe in Juggi it may be in a bungalow doesn't matter because the RSS types and Shiv Sena types and so on because they'll ask you they'll find out that you're not a bloody Marxist nut job you're just a simple chap. And then you have a modus vivendi. That is a modus vivendi. That's how things work in India. I remember, leaving aside the ridiculously lower class, let's talk about the upper class. Let's talk about Dom Moraes. Dom Moraes, when he was in Mumbai, what happened is, Dom Moraes had inherited, and his wife had also inherited a lot of property. They were very, they're from the upper class. Moraes had a problem with his next door neighbor, who was, you could say, Novorish, that he bought a big property, and people were coming there and doing namaz on the lawn. Nothing wrong in that. If a Hindu sees that, they will be happy कि ये लोग नमाज कर रहे हैं ऐश ऐश नहीं कर रहे हैं, शराब नहीं पी रहे हैं, नमाज कर रहे हैं, अच्छी चीज है, इसमें कौन सी बुरी बात है? What is wrong in that? What is wrong if your neighbor, yeah, he's maybe novarish or whatever, but people are doing namaz and, they're playing by the rules. You don't bloody complain to the police. He did. And actually, he went and he shouted, or some friend of his came and shouted, yeah, fucking stupid native people, you black cunts, fuck off, otherwise I'll call the viceroy. पता नहीं क्या उन्होंने कहा होगा. I remember Dominic, a lovely chap. He was a terrible drunkard. But, people in this country, in London, they find him a bit steep. He's a little too upper class for Soho. They find him hard going. And he doesn't work in Mumbai. He might work in Delhi. In fact, he did well in Delhi. And Mrs. Gandhi liked him, and he wrote her a biography he did well in Delhi. But, Delhi is boring as shit. I can never forget Dom Rose ringing my mother up and saying, yes, look, darling, who is that Hindu who had 5 wives? It was Rama. Yeah, is that right? He had 5 wives. And my mother was saying, well, you must understand that the Indian spirituality, you see, there are 5 senses, so there are 5 wives, and they're all married to God, and it's very spiritual. It doesn't mean that Lord Ram had 5 wives. I remember listening to this. I'm going, Mum, no. Ram had 1 wife, Sita. You're thinking of Pandavas. But Pandavas there were 5 husbands and 1 wife. So going, oh, yeah, well, it's all the same. Anyway, it doesn't matter, darling, because he's writing some article for Time or Newsweek, and even if he publishes it in India, nobody will say anything, because they'll say, yeah, it's a A.K. Ramanujan type argument. Oh, there's so many different versions of the Ramayana, aren't there, darling? Yeah. Anyway, why are these 2 old farts, these 2 old gargoyles, pretending that India is not a Hindu country? They themselves are not Jain and Hindu, and that that their ancestors didn't subscribe to the same ideas as Pragya Thakur or Yogi Adityanath. Why they're pretending otherwise? It's just a performance. It's just, you come back to India, and you've got a foreign degree or whatever, or you're actually from India, but you pretend not to know any Indian language, and you say, well, we actually took over from the viceroys. You don't know about that, but that's what really happened. But it's not true. It's simply not true. The viceroys didn't have that much power, and it was the British umpire, not empire. There were an umpire between. And these people are not umpires because they're not concerned with fair play. They are people who go in for what is called extractive introjection. Extractive introjection. That's a term from psychoanalysis. That means where you confiscate the psychic pain or the injury goes to somebody else. And you say, no, it actually happened to me. Not, and I'm much more important than that person. And so, these guys, what they're doing is they're saying, look, there are poor people, and maybe there are Muslims, young Muslims or young Dalit people who wrongly are arrested on the grounds of being anti-national or whatever. But it's actually happening to us. It's not happening to them, it's happening to us. And oh my God, I was pushed out of my job. And oh my God, I'm such a martyr. They start licking their own nipples and jerking off. Because they have a fantasy in their mind that they are fucking young, good-looking people who have been wrongly targeted by a police force which is overstretched and which can't actually lock up the real bad guys. And, we saw this in Delhi, where lawyers beat up policemen and the police commissioner did nothing. What was the result? The result is that when Muslims start shooting at policemen, killing policemen, and, when something similar had happened back in, 1993, I forget, there was an IPS officer on site when some police constables were killed, were knifed, and he immediately said, open fire, shoot, kill, and that's it, finished. There was no more riot. Riot, finished, gone. Riots end very quickly if you get shot. Modi knows that. That's how he stopped rioting. And Delhi knows that. But if you have a crap police commissioner who's worried about, what they'll say about him in Scroll India or in some other e-zine which is financed by Soros or by Amidyar or by... then, of course, you have an actual riot. The minority gets it in the neck, as always happened. It happened in 1917. It happened in 1926, 1927, 1920. Kanpur riots, it's always happened. And it led to ethnic cleansing. But that was presided over by the Indian National Congress, of which, of course, RSS people were members, Hindu Mahasabha people were members. Never forget that Motilal Nehru was one of the founders of the Hindu Mahasabha. What more can you say? Pandit J. Pandit is a Hindu title. Pandit Nehru. It's not Mullah Nehru, it's Pandit. Anyway, I think I've flogged a horse which really ought to be dead, but which isn't. But it is a horse which is linked to a tonga, which isn't going anywhere. So I've really wasted my own time and your time, if anybody has actually managed to to watch this after this point. I think there is a soteriological, there is a religious, there is some truth which can be rescued out of the shit. It is that, look, what we know of God is something that we derive from the vatsalya, from the love and affection shown to us by mummy, daddy, granny, neighbors, or kissing, or hugging. And we feel that's how we get our sense of belonging. And in my case, I was born in Germany, I got a lot of kissing there, so I liked it. I went to Iraq, got a lot of kissing, hugging, fooding. So I felt I liked it. I went to Iraq, to Kenya, oh my God, fantastic. It's just the most beautiful place in the world. And lovely people, and, then I came to Delhi, and I was frightened because I thought that my daddy was saying, people will spit at you. They will spit at you if they see that you are Indian. You're not white. You're not African. You are Indian. Look at your color. You look like Indians, and you come to Delhi and you can't even speak Hindi. People will spit at you. And my elder sister said, well, we're not going to learn any bloody Hindi. If they want to spit at us, we'll spit at them back. She was tall and good looking, But I was small. I was a little boy. I was thinking I'll be beaten mercilessly at school because I can't speak Hindi. And anyway, my color is black. They'll know all the time I'm Madrasi. But people of Delhi, Dil wale hai. They would ask you, are you Madrasi? Yeah, I'm Madrasi. You speak in English, please. Please speak in English to my son or my daughter, like that. They look after you. So that's why I never developed a Hindi accent. Actually, later on, I developed a Pakistani accent here in London because, when a Pakistani sees a Hindu, he immediately rushes up and he says, look, I've got this money, please keep it in your bank account, or please look after my money. Look, हमारे 3 चीज़ें हैं, ज़र, ज़मीन और ज़िन. That means gold, land and woman. If they see a Hindu, especially Madrasi type, थोड़ा नादान किस्म का है, that's why I'm speaking Urdu. I had to bloody learn to read and write Urdu because of demand. And I mean, even if they weren't actually using me, they'd say, नहीं हमारा ये मद्रासी दोस्त है. और लोग मुझे they would come. वो देखेंगे कि I had very small apartment, very meager furnishing, and in fact, one chap, he was a very nice, very, very, very good, really wonderful Jamaati, really very wonderful chap. And he organized a vegetarian big soup kitchen, and people would come and sleep on the floor and like this. And one fucking, I'm not joking, Emirati prince also came, sat for 10 minutes, took coffee and, had some food and went. So, why did they do these things? It's because they want the belief that you can save money together so as to buy property and so forth and to come up without that big nagging fear that these guys are stealing the money, those guys are stealing the money, they're going to be left with the short end of the straw. So having a stupid, big fat, I was not fat, I was thin, but I was big. And I was obviously much darker skinned and real Hindu with Ganesha and, and they appreciate it. And 100% vegetarian, though I'm actually non-veg. But the food there would be veg. And good, it's okay. It's actually healthy, very healthy. That without any, it has much less spice than I find tolerable. But, actually, if you want to build your muscles and so forth, you should take a less spicy food. It's much better for your health. See, the reason that India works as a complement, as a place where there is a complementarity between different religions and different sects and different castes, is because each has some USP. And the people who are able to navigate this type of thing, this actually has been explained in economic game theory by Nielsen and Conley. Nielsen and Conley have analyzed coordination games. Coordination games is how you can find a Schelling focal. Thomas Schelling, he won a Nobel Prize. Thomas Schelling says that if there's something focal, something salient, like something high that everybody can see, then that becomes the solution to a coordination game, so that people can coordinate their actions without any coercive mechanism. And David Lewis is a great philosopher, which Pratap, Bhanu, Mehta, bloody idiot, he's ignoring all the things which happened in the 1960s, 1970s. He's been bloody, stuck on some rubbish philosophical program, which you can forgive Amartya Sen, he's very old. He got stuck with that nonsense. But these things were happening in the 60s while a little Pratap Bhanu Mehta was not even born. He's not even born. He's born in 67 or something like that. I was born in 63. He was born in 4 years after me. He's not a fool. I mean, he is a fool, but he's not an old fool. And he should know these things. He should know, like Conley and Nielsen have shown, that, and it's obvious. If you know anything about economics, you know that if there's a coordination game, then for hedging reasons, because of hedging, in other words, regret minimizing strategy, Hainan consistent strategy, you're going to have a discoordination game. The coordination game means people who are similar, they converge on something, but it's always to your advantage to be dissimilar from others so as to have a discoordination game over here. And there is arbitrage, there's a market maker between the two. And this is the full explanation of what we have in India. And it's nothing bad, nothing strange. You know, we can fully understand Indian politics through game theory, Shapley values. In fact, like in my book, Samli's Daughter, which I wrote probably about 20 years ago, was published in, I think, 2007. There's a passage where I go to a school in RSS school in Bihar, and instead of having a games mistress, you have a games theory mistress who's teaching all the children Shapley values. But, the fact is, the Shapley value for game is known by the Nai, the barber. He knows exactly what is the Shapley value of the various coalitions and, And, forget about this idiot Pratap Bhanu Mehta. Look at success of Prashant Kishore. But Kishore also is crashing and burning now, it seems. And just as Yogendra Yadav, he was supposed to be a cephalogist and supposed to understand all these things. And let me be honest. If I was really smart and not lazy, and if I didn't write poetry instead of being a professor or something, actually the oikiosis-based economics of game theory it's actually very tractable. It's much more tractable than the game theory of Kaushik Basu and so forth. Why? Firstly, because you're just dealing with directed graphs. So it's category theory, so it's easy. Or put it another way, you're dealing with sequent calculi. So you're not dealing with quantum logic, where you're presuming that there is an identity relationship between what are basically virtual particles. You don't have to do any of these things. Social science is easy. Artha Shastra was there. Artha means the same, it's meaning. So the meaning of oikiosis is meaning. That's it. So these things are easy to understand, at least for me, because I'm stupid and I like to keep things simple, and I don't want to talk paranoid bullshit about up till this moment in time, Modi was very good, then he suddenly became very bad. Oh, yes. What's the point of talking shit like that, What's the point? Anyway, I've taken up too much of your time.